Well, we have with us in the studio Barrister Mbeseha. Good evening, Barrister Mbeseha. It's always a pleasure to have you on Undaunted. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening and welcome to you for accepting me.
All right, Barrister Mbeseha. We're starting with this report. We've given a little rundown of the war so far in Ambazonia, and looking at what's happening, there's one particular constant, which is the cost of human lives due to this war. Now, given the growing human cost of the conflict, what concrete steps can move the Ambazonian struggle away from the field and towards a credible, internationally recognized process of self-determination?
Well, the answer to your questions might be a little bit complex because not Ambazonia to move the struggle from the battlefield. We did not initiate any struggle on the battlefield. Someone declared a war on us. Someone stupidly tried to undermine a people that they could not undermine. Someone stupidly thought that were two cubes of sugar that would dissolve. Someone stupidly failed to understand the history of where they came from. We talk about the trust territory, we have mentioned them there. Back in the 1946 through 1961, there were two trust territories, one administered by France and the other administered by the UK. The one in the UK is today called Ambazonia. But when it came to independence in 1960 and 1961, the one administered by the UK was refused independence. And the one larger portion that was administered by France was given independence. But that's not the issue. The issue is they have to give these two territories independence, and one joined the other. Who was supposed to join the other? Rightfully put, the French administrator should have been asked to join the Anglophones, the British administrator, because we were better than them in every structure politically, in every structure nationally. We were better than them. And let me remind you that we all were put in that situation in 1946. By 1953, when we left Enugu as politicians to set up a parliament in Buea, they had nothing. By 1955, when they were fighting the Maquisard War to free themselves, they were running to Ambazonian government already in place from 1954. They sought asylum in Bamenda, they sought asylum in Buea, in Amba, and so on, under the British administered territory. We were politically matured. We could save them, used to us. So what better institutions even to protect? By 1939, we set the first post-primary secondary school in the whole postcard territories. SASE was created in 1939. How many other institutions do they have over there? No. The British administered territory had its first government in 1954, headed by who? By a medical doctor. And so we were already qualified to be a state. We were already self-governing. But for whatever reasons, what happened. But again, for whatever reason, Mr. Paul Biya and his government, as stupid as they were, thought mistakenly, from his own words, that these are the people they thought they could assimilate. No, you could not these people. As small as they were, or as small as they are like, for example, occupying. We turns all over his body, meaning trying to assimilate it, to swallow it by a python, the largest animal you could find there. You will not swallow it. And so this was a big mistake to them. But again, what was the end? What's the goal? What is the war still on? The war has two aims. The Amazonians are fighting to free themselves, to defend themselves against unwarranted attack. La République de Cameroon is fighting to assimilate a people, to kill the notion that these people once existed as a people. And therefore, how would the war end? I think by now the war should have ended. Because if Yaoundé had realized, and their supporters, Yaoundé will talk about France and all support them. If they realized that what they did was wrong, the narrative that you have given there from 1961 to 1972 to today, all the actions they took were wrong. They would have said, well, the air is human. Let us come back to our senses. Rather than persisting on the wrong, thinking the unthinkable, that they were and they are still going to assimilate these people. History has proven, facts have proven right there as we speak in 2026, that they will not be able, they have not been able to, and they will not be able to assimilate Ambazonia, southern Cameroon. And in your narrative, you say, look, the power struggle has become shifting from somewhere to Bamenda. Bamenda did not exist by coincidence. Bamenda has always been part of the heartbeat of the southern Cameroon. You remember, even throw down the history that will go. Bamenda was the last place we met to go to Fumban, the Bamenda Conference of June 1961. Bamenda was celebrating the Youth Day today, what they call Youth Day. The Youth Day, as it was planned from Bamenda in 1963 by a certain Mr. Kisson, who was administrator there. He applied, it was invented there, posted to Boya, implemented by Foncha. So Bamenda is not a new name. Bamenda has always been terribly important in this thing. And so, even then, as we are telling them, 11th February is not going to be celebrated. On the first day that they celebrated the so-called Youth Day, which was actually the Southern Cameroon Youth Day, the Southern Cameroon National Day, call it. It was celebrated in Buea by the Prime Minister, and extraordinarily, the Prime Minister flew to Bamenda the same day. I'm trying to show you the importance of Bamenda in the equation and celebrate it and say it there. So again, if history has anything to do, if people must learn through history, our critics, our admirers, and our foes should read this history. Bamenda, as important as it is, was not an invention of today. Even under the British administration, when we trusted territory, there was something called the Bamenda province that covered the whole area. And the Cameroon province was the one that covered from Buea and the forest area. So renaming it Northwest, Southwest, and other nonsense is not what is important. Bamenda has always been significant. It remains significant until the day will come. And even now, Ambazonia as it is, Bamenda still reserves a place. They will not replace Buea, but they reserve their own place in the history. And so again, your question was, how can we shift this war from Belfast? What can we do? There's nothing we can do other than crying out, other than defending ourselves and clapping our hands to our friends and neighbors, whoever can help us, to tell these people to come back to their senses. What are their senses? To admit that they cannot assimilate a people who have existed for centuries, for decades. They cannot defeat a people who are determined to stand their grounds. And so, if you cannot defeat them, what do? You sit down and talk. We've lost many of ours. We've lost our homes. We've lost many people. They have not gone scot-free either. Their own children are dying. And why we say we die to free ourselves, to defend ourselves, what do they say they die for? They die to exterminate people that they cannot exterminate. The lives of those people from Bolivar, from Douala, from Gandhi, who are dying, this thing is as important as the life of Paul Biya. Will Paul Biya agree that his daughter should go and die in Kambe or somewhere in Mamfe, fighting for a war that he would not win? He wouldn't do that, or any of his ministers. And so it is up to the international community to reason, because what we say, all our history is documented in writing. We are inventing nothing. But what the Francophones are saying, our imagination, we shall envelop the crase, that's an imagination. We shall assimilate them, that's an imagination. There's no documentation that they can do that. That said, we'll continue to fight. Welcome to 2026 National Youth Day. Welcome finally to 2026 National Mourning Day for Ambazonians. Over to you.
Well said there. While it's a National Youth Day for French Cameroon, it is a mourning day for Ambazonians.